The essence of the overview was that from an analytical standpoint, and when you're looking geopolitically, what you find in this region is a mixed picture, although it looks to be more negative than positive. There are some positive elements, at least from the standpoint of Israel. One positive element is, it's somewhat ironic given what's being discussed in the cabinet today, is natural gas. Israel is in a position as it looks at its future of being able to meet its own energy needs and also being able to export as well. And that export, if it's providing it, puts Israel in a position of actually being able to have a different kind of political relationship with other countries who might suddenly have a different kind of stake in Israel. So that's one positive element. A second positive element is that the rise of political Islam has been marked in the region by the Muslim Brotherhood emerging and being non-effective. In opposition, the Muslim Brotherhood was always seen as being effective. Now in government, wherever it's emerging in government, it's proving to be incapable of delivering anything. And that's affecting its credibility, its legitimacy, and the like. And in many ways, what it suggests is it's not the wave of the future, the way many may have felt that the Middle East is now going to be characterized by the dominance of the Muslim Brotherhood. The reality begins to paint a picture that's rather different. A third point is that the upheaval, which is real and obviously, as I'll get into in a second, creates all sorts of problems, it also means that almost every country in the region right now is consumed internally. And the more they're consumed internally, obviously, they're focused more on themselves than they are on the Israelis. So these are at least factors that while typically one looks at the geopolitical setting and is mostly alarmed by what one sees, it's not all necessarily negative. Now it is negative in a lot of respects. The fact is, even if the Muslim Brotherhood at this point is not effective in government, doesn't mean it's going to disappear right away, doesn't mean that it may not be contributing to the emergence of failing states. And failing or failed states around Israel are not something to be looked at with any sort of comfort. And I would even say also, one doesn't know how long it will take for the Muslim Brotherhood, as it doesn't perform in government, even though it's losing legitimacy and appeal. It's not at all clear how long the process takes to play out, and that creates great uncertainty over time. Secondly, obviously, one can look at Syria, and it's difficult to identify at this point any scenarios in Syria that leave one feeling particularly comfortable. In the worst case, you could have a complete failed state, no central authority, the dissipation and loss of control over the chemical weapons, the emergence of al-Qaeda elements in different parts of the country. Obviously, that's a scenario that creates and should create a great deal of concern. You could have other scenarios. You could have a scenario that you see emerging today, which is where Iran and Hezbollah invest so much in the Assad regime that they're able to preserve it as in a kind of part of Syria. You have a rump Syria, you have an enclave, and that isn't necessarily going to produce peace in Syria. It's likely to produce an enduring conflict, but it's a conflict that once again may spill over and can affect not only Israel but the whole region. In any case, Syria presents all sorts of uncertainties, and it's hard to see in the near term scenarios that don't confront Israel with a set of increasingly difficult sets of choices. A third element, which has been the preoccupation even prior to the time of the upheaval in the Arab world, relates to the Iranians. And here, the Iranians are being more active throughout the region. You see it in terms of their assertiveness within Iran, but you see it elsewhere in the region as well. And you also see the ongoing development of the Iranian nuclear capability.